So I'm super excited to be able to talk to a dear friend who you all will be able to hear his story and some more things about him. But if this is your first time tuning in, here at the 5 Minute Career Hack, we have been celebrating the everyday Black men that we know, and amazing Black men that are doing great things. And really, where it came from was us really wanted to keep consistent with everything we stand for at the 5 Minute Career Hack, which is debunking everything that we've been told. So this is our way of shedding some positive light on amazing everyday heroes, and they don't consider themselves that. So if you've been watching, you know, it's a ton of folks is like, oh, I'm just doing what I'm doing, but in that there's excellence. There's excellence. So with further ado, I'll turn it over to you. I call, as they know, I'll try not to call you Pat through this, right? But I'm gonna turn it over, or Dan, right? All the names, but I'm gonna turn it over to you to introduce yourself before we get started.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it, and for bringing me up to speed on everything we're going to be talking about. I knew you were good, but man, that was fast. I hope I can keep up with you. I'll do my best. My name's Patrick Powell. My first name is Daniel, and when Alicia and I met many years ago, I went by Dan. That was part of my, I'm stepping into my professional persona, so I was going to go by my government name. And went by Dan or Daniel, but everybody knows me as Patrick. And I'm a father of 3 incredible, exceptional girls. If you read my bio, you know I'm a girl dad. I'm a lucky husband who is married to just an amazing Spelman woman, an AKA for all those out there. And there's that's pretty much that's me. That's me right now. That's me and who I've been for the last 12 years, and happily married, and just trying to be my absolute best every single day. So I'm glad to join you on your show, and thank you for inviting me.
Awesome. Well, we are excited that you're here. So let's get into it. You ready?
I'm ready.
Awesome. So tell us, what does Black history mean to you?
I've been thinking about this all week. Ever since you asked me to be on the show, I've really been trying to think deeply and thoughtfully about that question. And it's such a broad, it could be such a broad answer. I just think about excellence. I think about struggle. I think about resilience. I think about courage. I think about fearlessness. It's funny, when I used to be with the guys and we used to talk about, pre-civil rights and what Black people have gone through. And you would often hear somebody say, well, if that would have been me, I would have done X, Y, and Z, or that, that couldn't have been me because I would have fought, and I would have, done this or that. And when I see all the things that are still happening now and everything that's at stake and the type of courage that really takes, no, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. You would have done what you could have done to survive, and you would have tried to stay close to your people and try to take small steps to advance your community and build up your community. So it means all of those things and more. And I'm going to be thinking about that question long after this interview is ended. And so I'm so glad that you asked it, but it means all of those things to me.
Yeah. As you were speaking, in the words that you were saying, a lot of things were coming up, because I've been intentionally consuming a lot of Black history, and really, instead of this thought of I wasn't taught this or nobody told me, of like, how do I keep this going? And especially now as us being parents, realizing a lot of our history is oral. Right. And it's somebody passed it down, and it's up to us to share. So I'm like, okay, what do I know? But I think, as you say, like, there's the strength, and a lot of times that struggle story is shared. But to your point, when you really think about it and really put yourself in the shoes, and it's not too, like, a lot hasn't changed, right, when we think about it. But I think sometimes, to your point, when I was younger, I saw being quiet, or you see what people are taking as not being strong, but you realize now actually it was extremely strong. Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's what was coming up as you were talking, of like, when you see this resistance, or you see this, like, I'm going to walk, or I'm going to still praise God, or whatever their choice was in that it actually was extremely brave.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes a lot of strength. And, how many moments have you experienced or have we experienced personally where, keeping it real can go wrong real fast. And,
Real fast.
and you really got to think about the greater good and how can I be intentional about how I want to respond in this particular situation or this scenario. You've really got to be mindful. And it really makes you appreciate our heroes like Dr. King and Andrew Young and all of the strong Black women who have been at the center of the movement. Um, Being able to manage and temper how they must have really felt to be able to move everyone forward,
Hmm.
without making a false step. I mean, it's mind blowing to me that type of tolerance and that type of patience, and to be able to absorb all those things that were coming their way and not react on emotion,
Yeah. So
because
when you,
that could have really got you in trouble.
yeah, not only you, but your entire family blackball, right?
Hmm.
So, so when you this week, as you've been kind of thinking over this, has there been someone that's come up that you admire in Black history, and it could be current or deceased, but is there anybody that's like kind of stood out?
Um, I would tell you, thinking about that question, no one single person really came up to me, but I think about the collective.
Okay.
You know, I'll tell you a quick story. When I got to Atlanta, and we're going on 6 years now, I started working at Morehouse School of Medicine. And Morehouse School of Medicine is a who's who of civil rights pioneers who have supported, that community in its young tenure as a medical school. It is a football throw away from Morehouse College and Spelman College, and right up the street from Clark Atlanta University, where so many of our heroes attended school and graduated. But a lot of those heroes, to show you how young this battle has been, a lot of those heroes are showing up at Morehouse School of Medicine campus and
Wow.
speaking to these young medical students. They are financially supporting scholarships at Morehouse School of Medicine still. Even though I'm not there, I'm very aware of the work that's happening there. But the story is this. I was at an event that we were having with a volunteer organization called Women with Heart, and they advocate for cardiovascular health every year. And a gentleman got off the elevator, and I helped him, basically check in, and I didn't realize who he was.
Hmm.
It wasn't till probably a year later that I realized that I just had a conversation with Andrew Young.
Wow.
Um, and I had a chance to take a picture with him later, have a conversation with him later. I watched a documentary that was released on HBO not too long ago, and Ambassador Young was Dr. King's right hand man. Ambassador Young wrote his speeches. They traveled the country together. They traveled the globe together, fighting for civil rights. And in my ignorance in that moment, I didn't even
The
realize
greatness,
who,
right?
the greatness that I was. That was,
I'm not
that I
worthy.
was. Yeah, exactly. And so it's just mind blowing to me,
Mm.
that one, that our fight is that young, even though it's been going on for a very long time, but that our heroes are still here walking among us.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. How was that experience working there? Like when you think about all that history and you reflect back on that experience, is there anything that kind of like while you were there, what how was that experience for you?
It was fantastic. I would say the most meaningful interaction that I had was with the students. And anybody that works in higher ed will usually tell you that. But, these are young Black men and women predominantly who a lot of schools didn't give an opportunity to, to admit to their medical school. And we would have conversations. We would sit down. We would, as assistant vice president for volunteer engagement and donor philanthropy, we really didn't have an alumni office, and so anything we wanted to document or show, we would do that ourselves. So we'd get the phone out, we get the drone out, we get whatever we can get out to document this experience. And we would sit down and we'd have conversations with these students, and they would talk about the communities they're from. And almost 70% of them upon graduation would go back to these same communities where they grew up.
Mhm.
And, these were primary care physicians, who were making a good living, but had a huge amount of debt and still do, and would take the least highest paying job to
Wow.
make sure that the elders in their community, the young people coming up, and folks like their mom and dad in that generation had the highest quality medical care. And not only that, by the time that they got into the program, their scores were best in the country,
Wow.
rivaled all the top medical schools, quote unquote, and had a bedside manner like no physician that I've ever seen. And I've had many Morehouse School of Medicine physicians take care of my kids, so I can speak to that in an honest way. So the students, without question,
Wow.
long story long, absolutely mind-blowing how they got there, and the fact that they graduated and they're going back where they grew up to do incredible work. So
Yeah, talk about being clear on purpose, though, right?
mhm,
And why you're here. And I don't know if you're a student of Claude Anderson, but I read a lot of his things. So I don't know if you've read the book Powernomics, but it brings me to that, right? And that's really how we build community in the Black community.
mhm,
Is we started education, but to your point, it's coming back. And that's what I'm hearing on there.
mhm.
Them just being, to your point, so just young and inspirational. So
Yeah, absolutely.
awesome. Well, I would love to. I want the people to hear about you. So let's chat. Like, so when you think about all the amazing experiences, and for the people that are checking in with us, we definitely will share with you Dan's bio and those that information. But like when you think about thus far, right, to today, what would
Mhm.
you say you feel like your contribution to Black history has been?
I would say this, and ironically, on the drive over here, I was I was scrolling through Instagram, and there was an interview with Jay-Z, and he was saying that success is not the goal. Um, Sorry about that. He said success is not the goal. He said being able to take your talent and to use it in a meaningful way to make an impact. And I'm paraphrasing here. That's the goal, to
Mm,
share your excellence and your abilities and your talents with the world in a way that they're going to remember. And that's, I think, when it's all said and done, that is my hope. Um, we lose heroes every day, unfortunately, and the greatest among us. It blows my mind how quickly they're forgotten,
mm,
and I mean the greatest among us. Um, and so I'm not necessarily trying to be remembered by the world, but I am trying to be remembered because, or by my family and those close to me, and in my community, um, because I've used my talents in a way that's helped people. I've used my talents in a way that I've shared with people and brought them joy,
mm.
made them feel an emotion, caused them to react in a way that brought joy to their life. Um, I was the type of father that my kids remember in a meaningful way, and not just because I was their dad, but because we had moments
Yes.
that were special. And so I also want to, be the type of friend and brother you had mentioned, in the intro. I'm headed down to Miami to spend 48 hours exactly with my
I'm sure to
with
be
my line
eventful.
brother.
You go max it out, 48 hours.
Listen, we're going to be looking like old men on the beach with dad clothes on, and we'll probably be in bed by 9:30, passing out to Sports Center.
Yes.
But that's the kind of responsible fathers and husbands we want to be. Um, but being there for them, and I don't know if you've experienced this, but
Hmm.
as we get older and wiser, relationships, with folks that get close to us take on more meaning.
Yes.
Um, I don't know who said it first, but I'm on a chat with my fraternity brothers, most of whom are back in Cleveland. And I don't know who said they loved us or loved me, or who said that first, but that opened up a dialogue between all of us where we as Black men could be honest with each other,
Hmm.
and honestly say, hey man, I love you. how you doing? Mental health check, where you at? How you
Right.
feel? How's your family? What can I do to help you? And I don't mean just pray for you. Can I send dinner over to the house? What do you need to be whole, so you can be the type of father or man that you're trying to be? And I say all this because it all comes back to helping move our community forward.
Yeah. And
Um,
growing and also making an impact where you are, right? I think a lot of
yeah.
times see a lot of people, and I think, some of it I think is fueled by social media, right? Of people,
Mhm.
just the high that people get from being affirmed. But to your what I
Mhm.
hear you saying is being affirmed by the people that matter the most, and that
Yeah.
being a
Yeah.
cyclical process, right? And a perpetuity of that, right? Of I'm pouring
Hmm.
into you and that's coming back. And it also sounds like just being very intentional around the leadership that God has given you, right? Whether it's head of your
Yeah.
household, with your children, your friends. And I pause and say that because I think there's so many people, to your point, that are disconnected, and we hear
Hmm.
these sad stories of people taking their lives or are depressed and living these very lonely lives, but they feel so connected, right?
Hmm.
And so I think
Hmm.
that's powerful, to your point of like in that group chat, make sure you're talking about stuff that matters. Like you can talk about everything. We know the stuff that gets shared in group chats, and it's like, but you can
Yeah.
have a friend that you haven't asked in however long, how are you doing? So
Hmm. Hmm.
awesome, awesome. So let's talk about maybe role models for you. Like when you think about, in your life, is there somebody that you feel like has been instrumental in this growth that and awareness that you now have in life?
I'm glad you asked that. And I'm on LinkedIn often, and I share often, because if you're not sharing what you're doing, and you can't allow others into your life, I feel like you're missing something.
Mm,
And everybody has a certain level of privacy, but I feel like you should share and let people know what's going on with you personally and professionally, and sometimes those paths cross. My father did not participate
mm,
in my life. And, we've had some interactions here and there, and most of which I felt good walking away from, knowing that, okay, this is not going to be the source of my inspiration.
mhm,
This is not the blueprint for how I'm going to raise my children. So like a lot of fathers, unfortunately, you begin to look outward. You begin to look in other directions, whether that's your coach, whether that's a teacher, whether that's a strong woman in your life who raised you, for that father figure, ironically. And when I met my wife just a little bit over 12 years ago, um, I her father immediately embraced me and took me in, and before I even, mentioned my intentions, he said, "Let's just go for a ride. Let's get to know each other a little bit." And on that car ride, he said, and I shared with him I was very interested in his daughter. He said, "Well," he said, "you're going to have to make some sacrifices. Are you ready to make those sacrifices?"
uh-huh.
And it's not that he's not a mean man. He doesn't have that persona like I know many dads do, where they look at you and you think twice about what you're going to do or say next. Just a kind, loving man.
Mhm.
And just let me know, hey, this was a decision I've made. And he's been married to his wife and my mother-in-law for a very long time. But he said, you're going to have to make some sacrifices. You can continue being out in the world and have a great life and make of it what you will, or you can make a commitment and have a responsibility and be accountable for all the things that this relationship will bring about.
Mhm.
And I was all in, so he didn't have to convince me. But knowing that this is the type of man whose family I was going to marry into, clicked with me on so many levels, because I saw him display a level of patience. I saw him display a level of kindness and love. He had 30-year-old daughters who, when they got ready to go wherever they were going to go, I don't care if it was down the street to the store, he would follow behind them down the street to make sure that they were getting where they had to go.
Mhm.
He just had that type of commitment to his family, and I knew I was going to be okay, because this is a gentleman that I can role model myself after. This is the hero that I've been looking for, as far as you know, how do I be a father? What does that even mean? Because the example that I've seen thus far, um, through my own father was not that at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's without question that he's a hero of mine. And I've told him that, and I've given him those flowers. And, I've learned a lot of lessons from him, good and bad.
Uh-huh.
So he's definitely a hero to me.
Oh, thanks for
Jim
sharing. What's
Nichols.
his name?
Yeah, Jim Nichols is his name.
Jim Nichols, an amazing man.
Jim
That's
Nichols.
awesome. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, let's get into I want to unpack a little bit more. We've been asking all of our guests this. So I'm gonna give you a little
Hmm.
background and then we'll spend some time on it. Is at the 5 minute career hack, what we talk about, obviously we spend a lot of time with people in their careers at different stages, but really what draws people to our content is it's very action oriented, but that it is this, I'll say, I don't want to say debunking, but it's really breaking down everything that you've been taught and making sure that you're really questioning that. Okay.
Hmm.
And in this series, what I've been really wanting to unpack, and I think we celebrate a lot in the Black community around the struggle, right? And
Hmm.
not saying that it's not there, but this everybody has to make it on their own. And actually, what I hear you saying is a lot of community, right? Actually, the
Hmm.
opposite of that. And what I wanted to spend some time on, because I feel like we celebrate that a lot, right? This kind of,
Hmm.
I got it, grind culture. I want to talk
Hmm.
about if you can recall, maybe it's a time or a series in your life where you personally can say things sped up for you. And it made no sense of the rapid speed that either your development or connections or places you were, people you were meeting. And I would love to hear your reflection on that if you don't mind sharing, if you've had experiences like that in life.
Man, that is a tough question to answer because I feel like there were moments all along the way.
Yeah.
Um, I would say that that acceleration, this may sound weird, but I think that acceleration really happened just about the time the pandemic hit,
Okay.
because everything changed. For me and my wife as special needs parents, educating our kids at home took on a whole new meaning. Um, we have folks that love us and support us, but we're doing a lot. We're doing a lot of this leaning on each other,
Hmm.
um, oddly enough. So, you know, you talk about the struggle. That struggle is real.
Yes.
But I felt like it was at that moment that we knew that our life was going to have to change and look different. Um, what we wanted for our future would have to be a conversation. What we truly wanted for our future. How do we? A lot of people say, how do we bet on us
Mm.
in a way where we can win in a smart way, where we're using what God has given us, in a resourceful way,
Mm.
so we don't have to fight that fight and really kind of struggle through it. Not that there aren't obstacles along the way and battles that you have to go through, but I would say, yeah, about 2.5 years ago,
Yeah.
and I will tell you, when I got on board at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta here at the foundation, and it seemed like her real estate career really started taking off simultaneously, and everything had just been kind of clicking. And I don't know if it's what we've been manifesting, intentionally or unintentionally, but it seems like the universe just kind of got with us
Mm.
over these last few years and said, okay, these are all the things you've been talking about and wanting, and all right, here you go.
Mm.
And it seems like more and more is coming our way, and we've just accelerated. And it's hard to say that because I know that there are so many people that have gone in the opposite direction.
Yeah. It's a guilt
And
that
I
comes with
know,
it, right?
yeah, and,
Yeah.
and I know so many people have not, you know, I don't want to say been winning over the last few years, but just experiencing that same thing. And to your point, that you almost feel like, okay, so how do we take these resources? How do we take this success that we've been given and get with those folks that have not experienced that in an intentional way, in a meaningful way? And so I think that that doesn't solve anything, but I think it helps us. It helps us kind of continue to move forward.
Yeah. Sure.
um, in a positive direction, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes perfect sense because I know, just as a leader of people in my
Hmm.
day job, and then also with this consulting in this way. And as you know, both of us being former athletes, we can relate
Hmm.
to the thought of preparation, right? And
Hmm.
falling in love with the process. So that's what I hear. And I think the other thing is sometimes people see on the outside like it just happened, and I always tell people it may take you 10 years or 5 years to get here, but in a moment,
Hmm.
to your point, it felt like,
Hmm.
oh my gosh, Tiffany's selling
Hmm.
$1 million homes and she's doing all these things. But how
Hmm.
long did she prepare? How long did she build those relationships?
Right.
And that's what I hear you saying of like,
Yeah.
you were prepared for that moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she'd been selling real estate for probably, I guess, 15 years, different markets. And, I watched her and her father work together when we lived in Knoxville. And, I watched her strike out on her own and figure things out. And, we always see the highlights, right? And, so I'm always trying to be mindful, whether that's in social media or whether that's folks that you work with. You can come across what seems to be greatness or greatness itself and say, wow, how do I get there? Or why am I not there? Not knowing their backstory. There was not to get off topic, but I'm not going to say male or female, but there was a person
Okay.
that I ran across the other day, and they were telling me about the struggles they were having at home.
Mm,
I had no idea struggles they were having with their children.
mm,
No clue that this was happening.
mm.
I thought I was the one keeping that, those stories and those experiences to myself as I try to go into work every day
Yeah.
and not let that, keep me from moving forward. So I was blown away by the fact that they were having some similar issues. Their support system for them was a struggle,
Hmm.
and that we had a lot in common. And ironically, our philanthropic passions and the folks we work with and the work we're trying to do kind of aligned. When I first met them, I didn't think that that was going to be the case.
Mm.
Um, and so I see now that energy is probably there between us. And those stories are very similar. And so you just don't know, to your point, what's really happening in somebody's in their process. And but as you fight through that, hopefully you do get to that point where things accelerate and you walk into that greatness that has been waiting on you
Yeah. Got to press through.
for however long. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. So, I know I personally know you do a lot of work, right? From development. I know you reach out to
Hmm.
us, all of us that, went to grad school together on
Yeah.
contributing. Always love watching what you're doing. I'm curious, if you can think of maybe it's one organization or it's several that you feel like you're affiliated with that are really aligned with your purpose. And if you could tell us a little bit about like maybe those organizations or one, but just
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah, without question, it's Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. Um, as I was getting ready to transition out of Morehouse School of Medicine, there was really only one other organization that I felt connected to at the heart, that was going to allow me to do the type of work where my purpose and my mission in life aligned with its values. Excuse me. And that's been my experience for the last 2 years. 55, or I'm sorry, 57% of the children that we treat here are Black and Brown children.
Mm, wow.
We have 3 separate hospitals. I just so happen to, do a lot of philanthropic work for Hugh Spalding Hospital, which this year turned 70 years old.
Nice.
Started out as a hospital for wealthy African Americans, um, so many years ago because Black Americans could not receive quality care in white hospitals. And so when you look at the patients that hospital serves now, 85% Black and Brown children, 95% of these children are underinsured or uninsured. And so the work that I'm doing to help raise money to support that hospital with just the most amazing donors and philanthropists, um, totally aligns with where I'm at. My mom was a single mom when she had me. I was raised by my grandparents. I see a lot of those same stories in the waiting room when I go in to do tours or to go visit. I see single moms with kids. I see struggling young parents with kids that they're just trying to get great health care. I see my wife and I and our children, and some of the battles that they face, and a lot of other kids just like them, all across children, regardless of which location you go to. And so that just encourages me to want to be as successful and tenacious and competitive for those philanthropic dollars, because I know where they're going and I see who they're helping, because I'm watching it happen in real time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I will tell you this, I had a great time at the University of Tennessee. I got my feet wet there. I learned how to be a development officer. I had a great mentor named James Obear, who was patient and guided me and coached me and allowed me to be successful and make decisions. And here we are 10 years later, and I never thought I would say this, but this could be a final destination for me as far as the type of work that needs to be done and the type of work I see being done, the type of culture and the type of community, the type of investment in this city and the kids who come here that we take care of. And I never thought I would say that. But that's how closely aligned the work is that's happening here, and my passion and what I care most deeply about. So.
Wow, thanks for sharing. When it sounds cliche, right? But I think being on purpose is just so much that comes from that, right? Like it just seems like we all understand the word alignment, but when it all aligns, to your point, things that you never thought you would say are just like,
Yeah.
no, that's so clear, right? It's so clear. Like,
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
else am I going to be doing? This is my life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
phenomenal. Yeah. So if people want to give, or, as you were mentioning this, are there ways, or maybe you can get that to me and we can make sure that we drop it in our story and we can share? Because one thing, obviously we appreciate your time. I know you've had a long day. We appreciate you sharing your story. Definitely how you show up every day in life. And I can say that as a friend, and seeing you and your family, it does inspire me to see you on LinkedIn and see you guys on social doing your thing. And the times we can, connect to celebrate birthdays, virtually, things like
Yeah,
that. It's
absolutely.
always there. But one of the things we want to commit to is the different things that people are doing or whatever is close to them. If we can share just with the network we have, we would love to do that. So you can share it here. And then if you don't mind sending it to me, I'll make sure we put that on all of our socials as well, so we can contribute to this, hospital that is so close to your heart as well.
Yeah, absolutely. In about 2 or 3 weeks now, we're going to be launching the public phase of our campaign. It's called the
Sweet.
Never Settle campaign.
Okay.
So this is timely.
Perfect.
So I would say two things. One, if anybody that wants to reach out to connect with me on LinkedIn, I love having those conversations and interacting. I think folks can make a lot better use of LinkedIn if they would actually have a conversation and a dialogue with the folks that want to reach out and connect with them.
Absolutely.
It's amazing what happens when folks message you and you actually start a conversation. You just never know what that's going to bring about. But yeah, absolutely reach out to me on LinkedIn, Patrick Powell, very easy to find. I share often information about what's happening at Hugh Spalding Hospital and what's happening, with the new hospital that we're building. We were fortunate enough to get a gift from the Arthur M. Blank Foundation, and Arthur Blank himself, who, if you don't know who Arthur Blank is, look him up.
Okay, I will.
Arthur Blank was one of the individuals who created Home Depot.
Okay.
He and his partner Bernie Marcus, if you've ever heard of the Marcus Autism Center, Bernie Marcus, and so those two created Home Depot. And he contributed a $200 million gift to name this hospital that is about 500 yards behind where I'm at currently. And when it's completed, we will be the largest pediatric hospital in the country.
Wow.
And so stay tuned for more information there. I'll send you the link for anybody that wants to contribute. And I will tell you now, that's a mighty big gift, but we take care of a lot of kids. And so when we think about gifts of all sizes, you'll have folks say, there's no gift that's too small or no gift that's too big. I sincerely mean that.
Hmm.
And you don't have to be Arthur Blank to be a philanthropist. You just have to want to contribute to a cause, or want to help solve a problem.
Hmm.
And one of our biggest challenges is, making sure that we can provide quality care for every child that comes into our waiting room. And so, but I'll send you that information.
Perfect. And this is perfect. Your point around LinkedIn. We're going to be doing a LinkedIn seminar next week. So I'll send that to you. And I can't agree more.
Yeah,
Like, I think it's definitely an untapped resource that people are literally 1 degree away, 1 degree away from
yeah,
the person or resources that they probably need professionally. So I totally agree.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I have really enjoyed hearing your perspective on Black history, hearing some people that have been made a huge impact in your life. So thank you for that.
Hmm.
And I just want to say thank you for being an amazing leader. It's so amazing, to your point, as you get older and you see your
Hmm.
friends grow up, and you grow up, it's so rewarding, if you stay connected, right? So that's been good to witness and to hear about that today. And you asked the question if I have had the experience around the relationships. And, my brother said something to me. We were talking a while back, and he was like, when people were older and they would say, it just feels so good to see you or to talk with you. That
Hmm.
just hit
Hmm.
different when you older, right? So I do understand that, right? And it does mean a lot to see people happy and whole and winning. So I'm super excited to be a part of that. So I'll turn it over to you and we'll wrap it up. Anything else you want to share with the listeners this week?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thanks again for having me. I've been watching your career ever since, we left Ohio, and it feels like you've really accelerated. And I don't know when it happened. I don't know who your travel agent is. I don't know,
Me?
what the travel budget is, but I'm just seeing you everywhere, and I don't know, where you are always,
Yeah.
but it always looks like it's somewhere fun, and you're always doing something that looks very meaningful and intentional. And I'm just really proud of the work that you're doing, and you're keeping it all together. Um, so just keep going. I'm just loving watching the brand that is Alicia.
I appreciate that. I apprate that.
It's
Sometimes
because
people say it
it's
looks
so good.
fun. It just may be, look, in my office, if I showed you this Peloton right here, that's where it is. But when you had that contentment though, like, and you realize that, it was my birthday on this past Sunday, and I wrote a letter to myself, and I wanted to make it one page. And I
Hmm.
wanted to make it one page because, I can, get a little, breathy sometime where it's a lot going on. I was like, nope, keep it concise. And I
Right.
wanted to list the things. And then I realized, I have a life that is worth being commemorated.
Hmm.
And everyone around me, when we think about that, and I was just thankful that I had too many good memories to recall. And I
Hmm.
think that's what you see, right? Because there's been times in my life I didn't focus on what I did have. So that's the
Hmm.
energy that you see now, is just really trying to just overdose on gratefulness. Like, just we don't,
Absolutely.
so that's really what you see. So
Well, and you're still making time for everybody, and I see that, and you're making time for yourself. It's I'm just blown away, you know, with how you are making sure you are cared for, and
mhm.
that you're staying healthy, and that's coming through great nutrition. That's coming through your intention to exercise, and to find a way wherever you are. I don't care if it's been a chair in a hotel with a towel. You've made a workout. You found a way,
Yes.
and you're making great choices. And I will tell you, um, and I'll let you go here. For everybody that's watching, Alicia did try to coach me up on my lighting. She tried to get me to keep my phone still. I've been holding this phone up. I've got this phone sitting on top of some Clorox disinfecting wipes trying to balance it. But she did coach me, y'all. You know, and I know better, but I'm just doing my best.
And if y'all see some of his things that he has, Dan has some. I keep want to call you Dan. I got to get back on script.
That's okay.
Patrick has some amazing media that you're going to see. So he's talking about me coaching him up. He knows as an editor standpoint. He's flying drones all over the city of Atlanta. He knows. He's going to look back. But you know, it's the content, and I think it's the authenticity that people are going to get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it. Keep up the great work.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This has been our final edition of the Everyday Black Man. We've had an amazing time this month celebrating our community and Black men in our community. So thank you for joining.
Absolutely.